Stop calling them friends. In the clinical terminal of the architect, most of your social circle consists of biological parasites. Look at the animal world. A tick doesn't love the deer. It just needs the blood to survive. In the grid of 2026, fake friends are units that have identified you as a resource node. They stay close to you not to support your 450 strike mission, but to ensure you don't rise high enough to make them look like the failures they are. Your nice guy program tells you to be loyal. The architect tells you to audit the infection. If they aren't adding density to your monolith, they are actively eroding its foundation. Think about the architect's social liquidation. When he left the spine-crushing labor of Yaroslavl and moved into the 8-year vacuum, what happened to the friends? They evaporated. Why? Because the resource flow stopped. A parasite cannot feed on a vacuum. They didn't hate him. They just couldn't use him anymore. The herd is afraid of your silence because they can't find a port to plug into your energy. Your 8 years of isolation were your chemical deworming. You flushed the marauders out of your system by becoming useless to their mediocre goals. You realize that loyalty in the herd is just a contract for mutual decay. Understand the status of the social predator. A fake friend is a scavenger that operates through empathy attacks. They use your nice guy guilt to steal your focus. They bring you their problems, not for solutions, but to lower your frequency to match their own. In the wild, a wounded animal that cries too loud attracts more scavengers, not help. The architect realized that his 43 million income objective required a sterile environment. He cut the beer divers and the useful idiots out of his life because their friendship was a neural tax he could no longer afford to pay. You are currently funding the stagnation of 5 people who will be the first to mock you when you fail. Next, we audit the biology of sabotage. Why do they get concerned when you start your 450 strike routine? Why do they tell you to take it easy or be realistic? Because your growth is a lethal threat to their comfort. In a pack of lame dogs, the dog that starts to run again is an insult to the rest. They don't want you to reach 5 million views because then they have to face the truth. They are lazy and you are an architect. Their advice is just biological breaking. They are trying to pull your head back down to the level of the grass so they don't feel small. The architect didn't argue with them. He just ghosted the simulation. Why is liquidating fake friends the only way to capture the 43 million income? Because capital requires absolute focus. You cannot manage a global empire if your phone is full of social noise from units that don't respect the 450 strike law. The architect moved to the Spanish high ground to ensure his circle is a vacuum-sealed elite. He realized that one apex partner is worth 1,000 social contacts. You are currently socially rich and financially poor. The architect chose to be socially bankrupt to become financially sovereign. He turned his loneliness into a weapon system. The screen is glowing. The room is silent. You are feeling the parasite instinct being identified in your social grid. You are looking at your friends and seeing them as energies. You are feeling a cold clinical sense of social surgery. The nice guy who wanted to be a good friend is being liquidated. The hunter who demands systemic purity is at the controls. Your 450 strikes are the scalp. The 5 million views are the reward for the clean. The audit of your circle is closed. We are moving from the parasite to the protocol of the selective pack. Stop drifting away. In the clinical terminal of the architect, there is only the immediate cut. Look at the lizard in the mouth of a snake. It doesn't negotiate for its tail. It drops the limb and moves into the shadows. It chooses loss over death. You have been raised on the nice guy lie that you must explain your absence to the herd, but the architect doesn't explain. He liquidates. Your 8-year vacuum was not a breakup with your old friends. It was a systemic amputation. You realize that the marauders and the beer divas were not your support system. They were the dead weight pulling your 450 strike trajectory into the dirt. To become a sovereign, you must first become a surgeon. Think about the architect's final goodbye to Yaroslavl. Did he send a long text explaining his growth journey? No. He faded into the void. He recognized that fake friends are like barnacles on a ship's hull. They don't do any work. They just create drag and slow you down until the 43 million income destination becomes impossible. The herd is afraid of your sudden absence because it proves that they were never essential nodes in your life. They were just status noise. By cutting them off without a word, the architect performed a neural flush. He cleared the RAM of his brain from their mediocre dramas so he could dedicate 100% of his processing power to the monolith. Understand the status of the clean. In the social grid, a man with too many friends is a man with zero focus. He is a public utility that everyone can discard. The architect, however, maintains a sterile laboratory. When you perform social surgery, you aren't being lonely. You are being high resolution. You are choosing the purity of the vacuum over the pollution of the crowd. The architect chose the 8-year isolation because he knew that the 5 million view empire requires an environment with zero biological friction. If you allow a parasite to stay in your room just to be nice, you are inviting the infection of failure to sleep in your bed. Next, we audit the guilt trip firewall. Why do they call you arrogant or cold when you stop answering? Because they are losing their free energy source. In the animal world, when the host wakes up and shakes off the ticks don't understand. They starve. Their outrage is just a hunger signal. The architect's 8-year vacuum was the process of starving the scavengers. He realized that his empathy was being used as a backdoor to hack his time and resources. purpose. By installing the social firewall, he made himself unhackable. You are currently open source for every useful idiot who wants to waste your after. The architect is closed circuit. He only opens the port for the 450 strike. Why is social surgery the only way to protect the 40 million? Because Cap is jealous of it. You cannot manage a globe if you are still checking out is a law. The architect to the Spanish fortress to ensure that his social rap is only shared with those who have apex free. You are currently funding the mediocrity of your circle with your most valuable asset, your seconds. The architect turned seconds to strike. He traded the small talk of for the absolute power. He became the surge. So the screen is glowing. The room is silent. You are feeling the social surge all active. You are looking at your fake friends and seeing them as obstacles to the monolith. You are feeling a cold, clinical sense of relentless clarity. The nice guy who was afraid to hurt feelings is being liquidated. The hunter who demands absolute structural purity is at the controls. Your 450 strikes are the scalpel. The 5 million views are the clean territory. The audit of your dead weight is closed. We are moving from the surgery to the protocol of the apex pack. Stop fearing the silence of your empty room. In the clinical terminal of the architect, that silence is the signal to noise calibration. Most men are terrified of being alone because they have no internal density. They need the marauders and beer divas tell them they exist. But once you perform the social surgery, you create a high-pressure vacuum, and physics dictates that a vacuum must be filled. You aren't alone. You are upgrading the level of the players. In the wild, wolves don't hang out with sheep to feel less lonely. They wait, they hunt, and eventually find the apex pack. Your 5 million view empire is not a social club. It is a homing beacon for the elite. Think about the architect's new grid. After 8 years of isolation, when he finally breached the 5 million view threshold, who showed up? Not the useful idiots from Yaroslav. The sovereign operators showed up. People who speak the language of 450 strikes and capital extraction. He realized that one apex partner who understands the 43 million income objective is worth more than 10,000 nice guy fossils. The herd is afraid of your selective nature because it proves that you are no longer accessible. You have moved your neural port to a frequency that only the top 1% can scan. You are no longer making friends. You are recruiting infrastructure. Understand the status of the aligned hunt. In the social grid, friendship is based on having fun. In the apex code, alignment is based on shared objectives. You don't need someone to understand your feelings. You need someone who can hold their sector in the 450 strike barrage. The architect's 8-year vacuum was his testing ground. He learned to be his own foundation so that when he finally met other hunters, he wasn't needy. He was structural. Your 5 million view success is a filter. It scares away the weak and attracts the power nodes. You are building a pack where the only currency is lethal competence. Next, we audit the end of small talk. Why is it so easy for the architect to talk to other sovereigns? Because they have all deleted the filler. They don't talk about the weather or the marauder politics. They talk about the extraction. They talk about latency, conversion, and expansion. In the animal world, when two predators meet at a kill, they don't chat. They recognize each other's rank and they cooperate to defend the resource. Your 8-year isolation in the laboratory was your language. You learned to speak the code of the void. Now, when you speak to the 1%, you don't need to explain yourself. Your results are your resume. Why is the apex pack the only way to scale to the 43 million income? Because no matter how fast you strike, a single unit has a bandwidth ceiling. To rule a global territory like the Spanish fortress, you need trusted outposts. You need other social outcasts who have also liquidated their nice guy programs. The architect is the root user, but the empire is supported by distributed anomalies. You are currently begging your old friends to understand your vision. Stop. They can't. They are prey. You must move into the high ground where the other hunters are waiting for a unit of your density. You aren't looking for love. You are building a war cabinet. The screen is glowing. The room is silent. You are feeling the apex pack protocol activating in your long-term strategy. You are looking at your isolation and seeing it as the VIP entrance to the real world. You are feeling a cold, clinical sense of elite gravity. The nice guy who was sad to be an outcast is being liquidated. The hunter who demands systemic alignment is at the controls. Your 450 strikes are the call to the pack. The 5 million views are the claimed territory. The audit of your loneliness is closed. We are moving from the pack to the final protocol of the sovereign circle. The surgery is over. The parasites are dead. Now the architect executes the final stage, the sovereign circle. Most men, when they gain power, they try to bring their friends along. They hire the marauders of their past and promote the useful idiots. They try to buy the love they never had. This is a terminal systemic suicide. The architect, however, only allows high-density units into his perimeter. Your 43 million income objective is the wall of entry. You don't need loyalty of the heart. You need loyalty of the result. In the wild, wolves don't like each other. They respect the function. Your 8-year vacuum was your function test. You are now a unit that can be trusted with the destiny of the grid. Think about the architect's final selection. After the spine-crushing years in Yaroslavl, after the 8-year laboratory where he liquidated the nice guy program, he realized that trust is a mathematical probability. You can trust a unit that has its own 450 strike distance. You cannot trust a unit that is still seeking approval. The herd is afraid of your cold selection because it proves that their friendship is a worthless currency. By building the sovereign circle, the architect has created a multiprocessor for his 5 million view empire. He isn't managing people. He is coordinating forces. You are currently drowning in the emotions of the weak. The architect is surfing on the competence of the strong. Understand the status of the aligned sovereign. In the social grid, a circle is about fitting in. In the apex code, a circle is about force multiplication. When 5 outcasts who have all survived the vacuum come together, they don't create a group, they create a reality breach. Their combined 450 strike intent is enough to override any algorithm and capture any resource. The architect's 5 million view success is the magnet that pulled these units together. You are currently begging the mediocre to see your vision. Stop. Move into the high resolution zone. Your 8 years of isolation were the proof of your sovereignty. The other hunters are watching. They don't want your friendship. They want your lethal alignment. Next, we audit the end of social debt. Why is the sovereign circle so powerful? Because it has zero emotional overlay. There is no drama, no jealous, no small talk. If a unit fails to deliver the result, it is de-indexed out of seer. This is biological. The architect's Spanish force is a high-performance environment where the only extract. You are currently paying the tax on the failure of it. The architect has tax-exempt state because he only surrounds net. Your force is the sovereign. You have turned your loan into a strategic. Why is the sovereign circle? Because the world of 26 is a war of. If you are surrounded by the noise of the herd, your signal will eventually degrade. But if you are surrounded by the silence of the result, your power will grow exponentially. Your 8-year vacuum was the cooling phase that made you a superconductor of power. Now you are connecting to other superconductors. You are no longer fighting the grid. You are running the grid. The architect has successfully marketed the void to the only people who can handle it. You are the root user, and your circle is the global command center. Here is the viral ultimatum. The brutal biology of fake friends is now a deleted file in your kernel. You have the surgery, the pack, and the circle. You are no longer a social unit. You are the chief executive of the sovereign. Take this protocol and inject it to the minds of the lonely hunters who are still being drained by the parasites. Share this with the man who is terrified of cutting people off. Send this to the one who is still seeking love in the cemetery. Not to comfort them. The architect doesn't do therapy, but to trigger the liquidation. We are building an empire of sovereign circle who recognize only the law of the 450 strikes and the weight of the monolith. Every share is a parasite. Every say is a vow of a life. Look into the glowing of your eyes. The room is silent, and you are the absolute soul of your own circle. The nice guy is a ghost job. The architect is the rooter. Your 450 strikes are the heart empire. The 5 million views are the. You have turned your 8-year exile into the foundation. The audit of fake fresh clothes. The laboratory is sterile. The reign of the sovereign circle has system 100% targeting global resource extract. Start. I am the circle. I am the law. I am the architect. Stop feeding the parasite. Become the void that strong. The forest is quiet. The architect be the apex or stay the host. The transition is complete. The reign is executed. Rule with the result.